Are you, everybody ready? Good? All right, let me call the May 11th, 2022 meeting of the City of Fort Lauderdale Board of Adjustment to order. Can we please have a roll call of members?
Yes, here.
Here.
Yeah.
Here. Here. Here.
Yeah, here. Mr. Maxey, can you do your appointed task? Thank you so much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go Navy.
If you have cell phones, or if you're elderly and still have pagers, please put them to mute or turn them off. We have in front of us the minutes of our last meeting. I assume everybody's read them, memorized them. Do we have any changes to the meeting minutes? In that case, can I hear a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Can we have a roll call to approve the minutes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Minutes are approved unanimously. Each member of the public that wishes to speak after an item is presented and discussed by the board will have 3 minutes per item. Representatives of associations and groups will have 5 minutes. Will you please swear in anyone who's going to speak tonight? Pull the mic closer to me. It's practically sitting in my lap as we are, but okay. No one's going to speak? Maybe I should have pulled the mic closer to me. Okay, and I understand that we have one agenda item which has withdrawn, which is agenda item number 2. Is that correct? Staff? Has agenda item 2 been withdrawn? Okay, very good. So we've got items 1, 3, and 4. And that should be it for tonight. Why don't we keep the agenda in its order, and we'll call the first case. That is case number Board of Adjustment 2203-0003. Terrence Boynton and Julie Boynton. Ms. Toothaker, are you here? I already know the answer to that question.
Yes, Chair, I'm here. Thank you.
And if we can, before you start, do a little voir dire. And why don't we start down there? Any contacts?
No.
Spoke to council, site visit.
And I had a brief conversation with council.
Conversation with counsel for the applicant.
Doug Reynolds spoke with counsel.
Chad Maxey spoke with council.
Howard Elfman spoke with council.
None. Mike Lamberts.
Okay, Ms. Toothaker, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So let me just start by saying I'm here on behalf of the Boynton family, but also with me is Garrick Hart, who is the home builder, Todd Stone, Roy Edwards, and Mr. Pugh with Pugh Pools. So this is a request for a variance from the setback for a residential swimming pool on one side, on the side that faces the water, and I'm just going to explain that a little bit more. So the property is located here. You can see it here, like between needing glasses and not needing glasses, which is 2873 in the Coral Ridge neighborhood. So a little bit of history on the project. The pool permit for the pool was actually issued in March of 2020. Sorry. Okay. Okay. You might have done a better job anyway. So just going back to the project history. The residential pool permit application was submitted in March of 2020. The permit was approved in July of 2020. It was issued in July of 2020. The residential pool construction began in May of 2021, and the pool started to be constructed, and it passed inspections. It passed inspections in May of 2021. These are just some images of all of the various times, the permit issuance and whatnot. Land use, as you know, is single-family residential, and I think it's really important to note that this issue was not raised by the city of Fort Lauderdale. In fact, the pool was under construction. It was moving forward. It had passed inspections, and it was brought to Garrick's attention frankly, by someone on the team who said, I think we should just double check the pool. And so we did. Garrick called me and we looked at it and we said, okay, yes, in fact, the code says something. There's a little bit of a conflict in the code and a little bit of confusion in general, quite frankly, about pools. And our pool contractor is here because he's very adept at building pools, builds them everywhere, and it's built to the way that pools are typically built. So what the measurement says. The measurement says that when a yard is required along a property line that abuts a waterway, it's measured from the face of the seawall in contact with the water, which is the wet face of the seawall. And that's how a lot of measurements are done. And that's fairly typical in the way that you measure, because it's, and a lot of these homes in Fort Lauderdale, they're on the water. There's a big difference. Sometimes the property line is in the middle of the water. Sometimes the property line is before the seawall. And so the easier way to always measure is from the wet face of the seawall, because that's what the naked eye sees. So in this case, that's how this pool was measured. It was measured from the wet face of the seawall. But Section 4719.2 measures pools differently, and what it says is that you have to measure the pool from the outer edge of the coping instead of the wet face of the pool to the property line. And again, the property line is an invisible line. It's not necessarily what you're seeing if you're looking at it. And so that's what triggered this, and we decided to stop construction and to work with the city of Fort Lauderdale, and the city advised us that we should seek a variance for it. So another thing that's important is that when you build homes, and I know there's a lot of builders in here, when you build homes, you always have to do spot surveys, because you have to ensure that your homes are placed in the right place. You mark it out before you build your foundations and whatnot, and you always ensure that you're meeting the requirements of the code, but pools don't require that. So pools, basically, once that permit is issued, they kind of just keep going, and they go through reviews, and they come out and they inspect to make sure that you're building it properly, but they never actually look at the survey the way that you do for foundation for a home. And so this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because if you measure the pool from the wet face of the seawall to the pool itself, it actually does meet the 5 feet. And we're showing that on the right-hand side. I've got it highlighted so you can see where the pool, where the outline of the pool is. And if you measure the pool from the concrete of the pool to the wet face of the seawall, it actually does meet the 5 feet requirement. And we all believed that, in fact, the pool did comply with the ULDR. But if you go back to the code section that I referenced, it says you have to measure it from the property line. And you can see here I've highlighted the difference in purple, the difference between the property line and the wet face of the seawall, which, again, from the naked eye, you would never know that that's there. You would never know that your property line is not, most people. I think this board very clearly does understand the difference, because we deal with property lines a lot. But I think most people don't understand the difference, that your seawall might, in fact, not even be part of your property. It might be in the public waterway. So that's really what created the problem. And when you do the measurement the way the code section relating to pools on the waterway, you actually are short by a little over a foot. So it's at 3.8, you can see, and I've highlighted it there as well. So that 3.8 is the actual measurement from the inside of from the outside coping of the pool to the property line, as opposed to the inside wet portion of the pool to the wet face of the seawall, and that's what triggered our need to seek a variance.
Ms. Toothaker, not to interrupt you, but what would the measurement be from the coping of the pool measurement side, to the wet face of the seawall?
That's a good question. I think it's what, 4.4. It's actually noted here. It's right here.
Got it.
It'd be 4.4 if you did from the measurement that you asked. 4.4.
4.4
It's
is
4.
4.5.
It's different. It differs because the lines are not exactly parallel with each other. It's 4.4 at its smallest point, and it grows to 4.5.
And on the permit set, what were the measurements shown on the permit set that was approved?
It says 5 feet, but when they laid it out in the survey, they assumed 5 feet meant from the wet face.
Got it, but there's no specificity in the
No.
permit docs as to where they're measuring
No.
from and to?
That's correct. No. And here we're showing you what that actually looks like on the actual property. So you can see there the difference between the property line and the wet face of the waterway. And also, we're also showing you where the proposed pool coping wet face is versus where the outside coping would be. And even if you don't, even if you don't do a decorative coping, it doesn't solve the problem. We looked at it a million different ways to see if there was any way to shave that little bit of room off to get it completely compliant with code. To kind of lay all the cards on the table without tearing the whole pool out, there's no way to fix it. You have to just tear the pool out and start over to shift it, that little bit of space. So there were a couple of letters. I did see a couple of letters from neighbors. I think it's important to note, and I don't need to belabor this, but what the neighbors objected to is not the variance for the pool on the waterway. It's the height of the home that is dictated by FEMA. And we're seeing this all over the city of Fort Lauderdale that, when you build today, you are required by FEMA, you're probably, in some cases, you're probably 6 feet above your neighbor, and that creates an issue. It creates an issue for some of the older homes because, they're lower. I know because I live in one, and things that go up around us are just significantly higher. And so we do have letters of support from some of our neighbors, and I know that Garrick has proactively spoken to some of the neighbors, and that's a FEMA issue. It really has nothing to do with what their objections were as it related to this. So these are just the letters of support and where they came from, and that really concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. We're all here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Do you want to reserve some time for rebuttal in case?
I certainly will, yes.
Very
Just
good.
a couple minutes is fine.
Any questions from the board before we open up to the public? Any member of the public wishing to speak on this matter? Commissioner?
I have been sworn in.
And Commissioner, just so we have a clear record, name and address for the record.
My address is 2864 Northeast 24th Court. As you look through this application, you will notice that I am not
Excuse me, Chair.
in any way. Yet
The
I am
Commissioner would state his name
affected
for the record, please.
by this. I am directly,
Commissioner,
Oh,
1 second, just so we have a clear record, your name for the record.
John Aurelius.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Somehow, I've been ignored a little bit, but I don't care, because this is a Greek tragedy. From my perspective, I have sat in my backyard, which is quite lovely, for 2 years, and I've watched this monstrosity, which, if you have the money, you have the right to do it. But in this case, why are you trying to take the only thing that I hoped would have been camouflage or some type of gardening, tall trees or tall bushes. Directly across from this, and it's intra-coastal, I'm 175 feet. This property's 150 feet from the intercoastal. I've lived in the house since 1957. My problem is this area from 3.8 to 5 feet, which we're talking about, I was hoping it could at least be somewhat I keep using the word, the wrong word, to cover with vegetation this 4-foot wall, which is right next to the dock. Now they're putting piping in there to go around. The two neighbors who have written letters are so upset that they didn't even come down here. One is an attorney, John Andrews, the other is the man that sold the house to him who moved next door. And the gentleman and his wife who are building this never had the courtesy to speak to any of these people. And I see it every day. Does a 1.2 feet on a canal that's 130 feet wide make a big difference? It does if you can't plant vegetation, something to mitigate the fact that staff is now allowing these houses that are 6 foot over the base and pools in the backyard. In fact, this backyard, every inch is set to go up as high as they possibly can with outdoor patios and et cetera. And there's been wrought iron hanging in the air for over 2 years, waiting for somebody to figure out what they're doing. So what I'm trying to suggest to you, there's a mistake here, no question about it. The mistake was done by the builder. I noticed the builder is even taking a sign down, which is interesting. But we have various chapters in this Greek presentation of how to not build a house. But as far as me, looking directly across from my canal, I want every bit of green I can see, and there's not going to be anything here. And I am shocked that the city code and city planners would not have at least put a tree in the backyard or something.
Commissioner, I understand your concern. That's not what's before this board, unfortunately.
I agree with you, but I'm saying that what's before this board is just a man-made error. Yes. Does it have anything to do with the conditions of the property? No. And I don't see any jurisdiction, if I may say this, for this board to grant relief based upon an error of the pool company, builder, or who it may be responsible for putting it in the wrong place. And
Very good. Thank you for your time.
that's it. Thank you.
Any other member of the public wishing to speak? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Ms. Toothaker, before we get to questions or discussions with the board, any rebuttal you want to present?
I would like to say, Garrick and I have had discussions about this, and I think we all know that there's been an incredibly frustrating disruption in the supply chain. So yes, the home took longer to build than it should have, along with every other home that's under construction. So believe me, I understand neighbors' frustration in looking at things that just, the product just isn't coming in. And that is frustrating. So we apologize for that. I will tell you that I know Garrick did go around to a bunch of the other homes and spoke to people, which is why we got some letters of support from some of our neighbors. And as I noted, that the objection letters that we got had nothing to do with the pool setback. It had to do with they don't like the way the code allows you to build. And, some of the older homes, and we see it in the older neighborhoods where you have these beautiful old homes, and the newer homes coming in are built to the setback. They're built to the setback that the city permits. They're built to the height that the city permits. They've got the required amount of landscaping and open space and pervious area, and that's how these homes are being designed. It's what the market bears and what the market demands. So, I understand and I apologize for the frustration, but the comments don't have anything to do with the variance that's before you.
Thank you very much. Let me
Thank
turn
you.
it over to my board. Any comments, questions, discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for staff.
Yes, sir.
What is the consequences of being that much closer to the water, if any? Sure, what is the consequences of it being that much closer to the water, the pool? Is there any physical consequence from that?
Not that I know of. Maybe the contractor or the engineer, designer of record might tell you. But it's just a code requirement to us.
Right, I do note as I look there, these are supposed to be backyard issues. I've got a pool, my rear yard neighbor's pool is as close as you could probably get to the property line without being in my backyard. And it just is what it is. But here, there's no adjoining neighbor.
When I was saying consequences, I meant, is there any danger to it being so close to
Right,
the,
to breaching the seawall or outward pressure.
Yes, that was
Right.
more my question. Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to
It's
make a
becoming your
motion.
regular thing since I've become the chair.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number, I'm on the wrong page. Case number PLN BOA 220300003, as it has met the requirements for a variance per the UDLR.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? If not, let's do a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion approved. Thank you very much for your time. Let's move on to the next case, which is Board of Adjustment case number 22030. Never mind. Yep. I'm a little, getting up there, but I'm still in nominal control of my faculties. Case number 2204-0001, Harvard at Shane Investment Group. Is Mr. Harvard here? In the words of many a game show host, come on down. And Mr. Harvard, just your name and address for the record.
Al Harvard, 1300 Northwest First Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Very good. And before we begin, let's do a voir dire, see if anybody has any conflicts that they need to know. Mr. Maxey, why don't we start with you?
None.
None.
None. Blaise McGinley, none.
None.
Howard Nelson, none, but I do note that I lived for a good period of time about 2 blocks away from this house.
Patrick McTeague, none.
Doug Reynolds, none.
The floor is yours, sir.
I'm seeking for permission to build a 2,000 square foot modern home on this property. We built the same project on Fifth Avenue. The address is 1300 Northwest Fifth Avenue. So the house that we want to build is about 28 feet wide. However, the city took away our setback when they gave the county the road. So we don't have any setback to build a home that's suitable for the neighborhood that I feel.
And Mr. Harvard, if you don't mind me interrupting you, I want to ask staff a quick question. On the road right-of-way that was taken from the original platted lot, how much road right-of-way was taken? Does staff know?
Yeah, we know it was taken away, Chair, but not exactly. I'm not sure how much it was taken.
Okay, we don't have, Mr. Harvard, you don't have a copy of the plat with you, do you?
No, we did the same board meeting for the property on Fifth Avenue.
Oh,
And the
Chair?
gentleman-
Yep,
Excuse me, if I look at the survey, over here, it says about 15 feet.
about 15
The,
feet.
the original platted lot, it seems, was 50 feet wide.
Okay,
If
but,
you look at the
so-
copy of the
perfect.
survey right here at the front
Right.
page, and you see,
So in other
do you
words,
wanna
if I
correct
do
the-
the math correctly, but for the right-of-way taking, there would have been more than sufficient room for the entire,
Chair, if I can have the zoning administrator clarify the record, you stated that the lot was 15 feet or the amount of right-of-way taken was 15 feet from the lot?
It seems the width of the original lot, platted lot, was 50 feet wide, now it's 35 feet remaining. So it seems, by looking at this survey, what is present over here, 15 feet was taken away.
thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Thank you for the clarification. So going back to I guess, the end of my question, so, but for the road right-of-way taking from this original lot, there would have been sufficient yard setback for him to meet?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, I interrupted you if you want to keep going.
That's all I have.
Okay. Do you want to reserve some time for rebuttal if anybody comes up to object?
Sure.
I'm not seeing any objectors sitting in the audience. Oh, I take that back. Do you want to reserve some time for rebuttal?
Sure.
Okay. Any questions from the board before we open it up for public hearing? In that case, sir, let's open up for public hearing if you want to come down. And have you been sworn, sir? Were you sworn in
Yes.
at the beginning? Yes, were you sworn in? When she swore everybody who wanted to speak in, did you get up and swear him in again, please? Okay, and your name and address for the record.
My name is Hernan Gonzalez. My address is 1109 Northeast 2nd Avenue. I am not here to complain. I am just here to understand better because I also have a property that only is a house built since 1910, 100 years old, still in the place, but my lot is 25 feet. And when I went to the city to ask if I can build again, they told me no, because the ordinance is 50 feet. And now I understand this property of the gentleman is only 35 feet because 15 feet was taken from the street or something like that. But this is a corner lot, it's not, so.
And sir, I'm sorry, we can't guide you on that, but there's a couple of very sharp land use attorneys in the back corner that you may want to go talk to.
Okay.
All right, but
This is
we
all my
can't
only
give you any
question
guidance.
because what I understand, the city of Fort Lauderdale regulation is 50 feet to build a home. So that's the only question I have right now.
That's my understanding as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we've got a presentation. Any questions, comments from the board?
I have a quick comment. Is there some sort of check against when a taking happens, whether for a road or an improvement, and it leaves a portion of a lot that has limited ability to be developed? Shouldn't the city take the entire? Shouldn't they be compelled to take the entire lot?
Well, and I won't jump in front of the assistant.
I realize that's
But my
philosophical.
understanding of eminent domain law is remaining impact to the residual lot should be taken into account in the valuation of the taking. It rarely is unless you've got an aggressively astute eminent domain attorney representing you, and most of the times on roadway projects in residential neighborhoods, nobody does.
Or maybe there's an opportunity for the city to look at a street like this where there are a lot of parcels and maybe see it as an opportunity to do some municipal.
Possibly, or just do something else to foster affordable housing in our neighborhoods.
Versus squeezing houses right up against the street.
Ms. Ellis?
So I just have a question for you. When did you acquire the property?
July of 2021.
Okay, so you acquired it understanding its width.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions from the board? Yes?
Just for staff, I mean, is this affecting the site triangle or anything to do with driving the cars along there or turning or any of that?
I think it's not, the garage is, if you look at the site plan, sheet E3, go to the last sheet.
Yeah.
No, the garage is on the other side, actually, if you see.
And it's just referring to that garage portion?
Yep. It is not on the side where they are asking the variance, it's on the,
It's on the opposite. I see.
it's on the opposite side, so the side triangle is not an issue.
Good, okay. I get it.
There's no shortage of houses almost up on the street in that neighborhood, right?
Mr. Chair, one question for staff. And it's piggybacking on Gina's. When was, I'm not familiar with the area as much. When was the road, when did that happen? Was that in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5
No,
years?
no.
Yeah, a while ago.
Years ago,
Thank you.
at least 25 plus years ago, I can,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions for the board, I'll entertain a motion.
Do we have to do them all? Do you have to do them all?
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number PLN BOA 2204-0001 as it meets the requirements for a variance under the UDO.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Show unanimous approval. Good luck building your house. All right, and I think that concludes our agenda for this evening. What? No? We have one more item?
We might have an issue with the representation on this item.
Well, I was
There's
going to
a-
bring that up. Is Miss Villeneuve here, Miss Villeneuve? And if not, do we have a representation letter in the file?
The code might have
I'm not sure we can move forward with this without a representation letter from Miss Villeneuve.
She's untitled.
Counsel, she is untitled.
This is a tough one. I think there's a prohibition.
All right, he's starting to sweat. Okay, we're good.
You're fine.
Carrie, bring the kids.
Back now. I was legit freaking out.
You owe me $20. Villeneuve, your name and address for the record.
Carrie Villeneuve, Stephen Carrie Villeneuve, 406 Northeast 9th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33301.
Thank you very much, and you've been sworn, Mr. Villeneuve.
I was sworn in.
And if we could go for contacts. Chad, you're on.
Spoke with the applicant.
Spoke with the applicant as well.
None. Spoke with applicant.
Spoke with the applicant.
I spoke with the applicant, but I failed to mention that we might just be messing with his head at the beginning.
Conversation with applicant.
Doug Reynolds spoke with the applicant.
Mr. Villeneuve, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much.
Presentation, or you want us to?
So so Jason is here, and I think Jason holds the record for the most quickly approved application, though it was a special exception, it wasn't a variance. I was thinking of, just coming up and just saying, my narrative says it all. I have 2 support letters from the only neighbors in the vicinity and sitting down and beating his record. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to put me through my paces and give me a hard time. I was not expecting it from before I got up here, though.
You're an appellate attorney. You've already been through your paces.
I do want to start off by saying, and I know you know this from sitting up there, and I did too, that it is a challenging process to get to this point. I just wanted to take a minute to specify how helpful staff is in that regard. I mean, even with me knowing generally I should know how to do this, right? It's a challenging process, and there's a lot to do and a lot to do on a timely basis. And staff is just really wonderful in helping guide through that process. And I also need to thank Jason as well for helping me on some of this stuff, just in regards to some guidance in terms of getting to this point. And so, thank you all.
So, Mr. Villeneuve, if I could just ask one question.
Yes.
Why is it you can't move your historic houses a feet over?
No, yeah, if you know a house lifting company. But of course, since we have the corner yard issue on the other side.
I do.
Yeah, I'm from Jacksonville, and
I lived in this huge house when I was a kid that actually we got for free because they were going to build a Scotty's Hardware. And so all we had to do was pay to lift it up and move it. And it was a huge house. But yeah, the first house I ever lived in got moved. But hopefully we aren't not moving this one.
Okay.
So this is the home, 400 Northeast 9th Avenue. On the picture you're now seeing, so the home outlined in red is the application property. The home outlined to the north of it in blue is the house that it is into the 5-foot setback of that house, and I own the house in blue. And so you will see for the application property, the one in red, really the only property that would in any way be affected by this is the one in blue, which I own, but there is the house that is across 9th. Now, if you look at the way the house across 9th is oriented, it is actually facing 4th. So the application property is actually facing the side yard of the home across the street. Nonetheless, you did receive a support letter from Diane and Scott Krieg. It's spelled Craig, but they're from Scotland, so it's pronounced Krieg. And you received a support letter from them saying that they are in full support of this. And then you also received a support letter from the house immediately to the north of the property in blue, Luann Banks, also saying that she's in support of this. So here are the two variances that are being requested. The one on the top is the area that is either a carport or a garage. Despite Mr. Crush's sleuthing efforts, we don't know if it was a garage built there from the very beginning of time, 1939, or if it was a carport that was at some point enclosed. We don't know. But it is, rather than being 5 feet setback, it is 2.88 feet setback. And then down the bottom, the southwest corner, you'll see the side yard, the minimum corner yard setback as well, which I thank staff for bringing that to my attention. I came for the first variance and they pointed that out to me, that as long as I'm here, I should get that one too. I wasn't aware of it, but I thank them for bringing that to my attention.
And both of these are on existing structures.
Yes, I mean, that is my theme, is like.
And you're not desiring of tearing down the houses.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, so these are the two. You know, I feel,
So
look, I did this thing where you list out each one and you put a check mark next to it. Yeah.
But do we have a motion?
I was like,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for case number PLN BOA 22040002
Chair,
to approve the variance as it meets the minimum requirements set forth in ULDR.
so one moment
And is
before.
that both variances at the same time? Or do you want to take them separately?
Both.
Both?
So,
Okay.
Chair, did we open and close the public comment?
Sorry, my apologies. Let me open the public hearing. Any member of the public that wishes to speak.
I
on
reserve
this
rebuttal.
application. Come on, you guys are just spectators? What? Yeah?
Yes.
You had nothing better to do tonight, so let's go down and hear variance requests. I've got to talk to you about your lifestyle. I'm just saying.
He swears a lot.
We don't even recognize.
What bar is this related?
I'm totally against preserving these old houses. I think we should tear them down and build the biggest possible houses and the tallest possible high
Could
rises.
somebody just have security?
Variance, so that he has to tear it down and rebuild.
Council, this is going to come back to bite you.
Chair, I would like to make a motion for case number PLN BOA 22040002 to approve both variances as both meet the minimum requirements set forth in ULDR.
Got a
Second.
motion and a second. We'll just do this we don't need roll call on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show unanimous approval. Please, if you would, Carrie, tell your wife that we did mess with your head like she asked us to. All right, let me get to the end of the agenda, sorry. Any communications to City Commission? Anything for the good of the city of Fort Lauderdale? I note that we have several board members that, I don't want to put it this way, but may not be with us after this meeting. May not be members of the board after this meeting. That's a much nicer way of putting it. And I want to thank all three of you for incredible service to the city, and for teaching the rest of us on this board exactly how to do a board of adjustment. You guys were great board members throughout your service. Love to serve on a board with you. Numerous times we've served on boards together. Anytime, any board, anywhere. And I think city staff might have. Do you guys have anything for them? Remember, you can't give them money.
Gina, Pat, and Doug, thank you for your service from the city. You know, we really appreciate all these years. Selflessly, you have served on the board, and we really appreciate what you have done, and we have learned a lot from you. And thank you, and hope to see you pretty soon.
Not in the way that we saw Carrie, though, recently.
Thank you.
You guys, sorry, ow. Nervous standing ovation.
Are we all?
If I could stand. And
Thank
do I
you.
have a motion to adjourn?
Just thank you, fellow board members. It's been
You
a
wanna
pleasure
finally make a
serving.
motion?
I will, and thank you very much to the city staff for everything they do for us. It helps us navigate these meetings with clarity and everything. So thank you all. You're wonderful.
Want to make your first motion?
No, wait.
Motion to adjourn?
Wait.
No, wait,
Wait,
No,
Gina.
wait.
Gina,
So as in all things, we need to pass batons along. So I'm passing the baton to Blaze
The cook?
for cooking.
Motion to adjourn.
Gentlemen, have a good night. I'm
So
going to
moved.